A very dangerous day of severe weather is set to evolve and is starting right now as of the time I'm speaking. And it's very concerning to me. It's a very dangerous day ahead, and we have to watch it very closely. I'll go over all of your updated information in today's video. I'm also fixing to go live just after this and cover this event for as long as I can. So tune into that. Mainly just making this video to keep you guys informed and give you a very kind of last minute and most reasonable update as I can here. So like the video if you like it, subscribe if you've not done so already, and please leave a comment down below where you're watching from. I greatly appreciate it. So to get going here, I'm going to show you our outlooks. This is what we've got as of pretty recently, about 30 minutes ago actually. So pretty recent update here, or actually an hour and 30 minutes ago. Sorry, I still have not changed when my clock's over from daylight savings time. But anyway, this is what we got right now. So starting in the southern areas, I'll work my way north here in a second. In areas of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas is where I'm focusing on right here. We have a broad level 1 out of 5 in the green, a marginal risk in this area. A level 2 out of 5 slight risk goes from Oklahoma, Arkansas down through a large portion of Texas. And obviously the most high criteria area here is in central Texas with a level 3 out of 5 that goes all the way up to and then just north of the Red River all the way up towards Oklahoma City and Norman. Now, if we're breaking this down by type here, we do have a tornado threat in this area. It is a broad 2% risk, goes all the way down to the border here and all the way up, and we'll go further to the north here just in a second. And then essentially a level 2 out of 5 equivalent here. A 5% risk is outlined in the brown. I could see maybe in the next update cycle, I doubt it, an upgrade to a 10% risk somewhere in Texas here. These are likely going to be big hail producers and damaging wind producers. So moving past the tornado threat in this area, I do want to mention that this black dotted lines across this area mean that these tornadoes could get up to a reasonable max intensity of EF2. Obviously, greater strength tornadoes are never out of the question. Our wind threat looks like this. So this is one of the things driving this enhanced risk in this area. A broad 5% risk is outlined in this brown that goes all the way over to the panhandles here, all the way over to the Mississippi River. It covers a large portion of Arkansas and Oklahoma. The main show in those areas will be a slight risk equivalent here, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 knots or greater. And then obviously down in Texas is the same thing. And then the main show here in Texas will be this 30% risk for winds exceeding 50 knots or greater. And this black hatching means that these wind gusts could even reach hurricane force, which is 65 knots or greater. So very much a damaging wind potential in this area. And then moving on to our hail threat, this is actually a very recent thing that they just started doing. So I'm going to break it down for you. A 5% risk, pretty much the same as the wind here. It goes a very broad area here. A 15% risk outlined in the yellow goes from all of Oklahoma except for the panhandle, a large portion of Arkansas, and then down through so many people in Texas. And then the thing that has my attention right here is this red area that goes from Oklahoma City, just points west, all the way down to the border here through Abilene, San Angelo, all the way down through these areas. And one of the additions to this in the most recent outlook is this secondary, essentially SIG-2 rating here. And what this really means on a fundamental level, you can see these black bars that kind of go across the screen that that are perpendicular to these black dashes. These are solid lines. What these mean is this could essentially be giant hail, and giant hail is defined as 3.5 inches in diameter, or even larger hail is possible in this black barred region you see here down from the border all the way pretty much up to the Red River, and Altus and Lawton, Oklahoma are included in this as well. So giant hail, this is the kind of hail, guys, that will be destructive if it occurs. The kind of stuff that's going to destroy cars if they're outside, punch holes in roofs, take any smaller trees down, outbuildings could be destroyed. A huge threat to life as well if you are unfortunate enough to be caught in something like this. So something to consider there. But moving on here, moving past that, I'm going to really just focus in, obviously, the kind of central plains here. I'll just show it to you right here. The tornado risk, there's a 5% risk, and all of it, every single area here is a SIG-1 rating, meaning these tornadoes could get up to EF2 in every single portion of this risk area. Moving past that, our wind threat looks like this. So a very broad 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 knots or greater in this area. And then our hail threat is pretty similar with some of this black shading regions here, indicating to me that these hailstones could be quite large, at least initially. But moving back here and then up to the north, this is where I'm very, very concerned for today. So obviously the first thing you're going to notice is that we have a moderate risk, level 4 out of 5 for severe weather in central and northern Illinois here, and then northwest Indiana, all the way pretty much up to Lake Superior here, or Lake Michigan, I should say. So moving past that and breaking this down, it's very important that we get this right. So looking at a tornado threat, believe it or not, this is what's driving this outlook, and that's insane to me. I don't think that they're wrong in their doing this. I think it's just wild. So really just zooming in on northern Missouri and then points north and east. We have a level 2 out of 5, or a level 1 out of 5 equivalent here, 2% risk of tornadoes all the way over to the Ohio River, central Ohio up to southern Michigan here, and then extends over into some counties in Iowa, and then obviously all the way down to the border here, and then a 5% risk inside of that. Now, what we had as of yesterday was just this yellow 10% risk of a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. And that was also a SIG-1 rating. So these tornadoes could have gotten up to EF2 as their max intensity. Well, now we have a 15% risk of a tornado in this red shaded region you see here, from pretty much Galesburg, Illinois, all the way over here to just right in the northern areas of Indiana, not to name anywhere overly specific here. And I also really need to reiterate this, that these black bars, kind of like the hail threat down there, this is a SIG-2 rating here, meaning that these tornadoes could be EF3 or greater tornadoes. And the Storm Prediction Center does highlight that in their outlook. So very strong, even long-lived, violent tornadoes are possible in this risk area. And that is obviously the main show here. Now moving on to our wind risk, just a broad 15% risk, no significant shadings here. Our hail threat is also high in this region for these storms, 30% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger, and then this black shading means it could reach 2 inches in diameter. Obviously larger hail is possible across a lot of these same regions. So with that being said, it's a mouthful. So let's get into it here. I do want to show you guys a little bit of what's going on in our environment right now. I'm going to spend minimal time doing this. This right here is just our mesoscale analysis page. I'm going to show you the northern areas first because they're the highest criteria. I do want to note, to do my best to kind of zoom in, you see that there's already storms in that moderate risk area. I'm looking over one of my other computers here. They are warned, but not overly worried about those as of yet. They could quickly become very dangerous to life and property. But this is our low-level jet. This is about a mile above your heads, and what this really is just a push in the atmosphere for tornadoes to occur. The more out of the south this is, which this is almost due south, all of this wind pushing up here across the risk area is really more than anything else just driving very strong low-level mesocyclones. So the low levels of these storms will be rotating pretty strongly regardless of if they put down a tornado or not. Pretty much is what this is for, the reason I'm showing it to you. Now, another main show here, another big part of the puzzle is the instability we have. We have roughly 1,500 to 2,500 joules per kilogram of mixed layer CAPE. That's a mouthful, and you might be thinking, well, Charlie, what on earth did you just say? What does that mean? Well, don't get overly caught up in those words. Don't get overly caught up in that definition. More than anything else, what I want you to get out of that, if we have over 1,000 joules per kilogram of mixed layer CAPE, that is typically more than adequate to get strong and organized storms going. We have more than 2 times that in a lot of this region. And even in central and northern Missouri here, we have 3,000. So that's 3 times as much CAPE as needed here. And obviously, and something and I'm going to go over this more in just a second here, you can see these wind barbs here at the surface up here in Wisconsin and lower Michigan. These are pointed down, right? They're all pointed like this. Out across the risk area, just to the south, they're all pointed north, all across this region. So somewhere right in the middle here is a boundary that is set up throughout the day, and it is dividing temperatures in the 40s to the north to the 80s to the south. Very, very strong, tight temperature gradient there that will be likely a focus area for storms, and where it sets up will determine whether you have a tornado threat or not. If you're on the northern side of this boundary, your tornado threat drops significantly, but your hail threat goes up significantly as well. A lot of things that go into that, but a lot of instability building across this area right now. I'm not going to get overly detailed with this. We'll go over this more in the live stream here, but dropping down to the south here in our other risk area, once again, we have a ridiculous amount of instability building here. I mean, 2,500 to 3,000 joules per kilogram of mixed layer CAPE across the region here, leading to a very, very unstable environment across all of the central and southern plains through the rest of the day. Specifically across our risk area, we have about 2,500 joules per kilogram. And so again, that's more than 2 times as much as you need to get the job done, and we definitely have it. Now, I will show you here, our low-level jet in this area is somewhat displaced here. It's obviously a little bit off to the east of our risk area. This is one of the reasons that our tornado threat is not as high down here. It's definitely there. It's just not quite as high, quite as dangerous. But is there anything else I was going to show you guys? I don't think so. Yeah, no. So we're going to move on from this. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm going to reload this. So this is a look. It's very hard to see where you're looking, I know. Illinois is right here, Indiana's right here, and Ohio's over here. That's where we're looking. You can see these wind barbs are pointed like this, all across this area up to the north. And they're kind of curling around like this. Well, then the wind barb right next to it is pointed up to the north. All of these wind barbs out across the risk area here are pointed up to the north here. And they start to point in. So again, somewhere right in here, we have a very, very strong boundary. And this is what I'm talking about. You can look in these red numbers here. 40s up here, mid 40s to low 80s across this area to the south. Very, very strong temperature gradient in this area. Moving past that, let's get into somewhat of a discussion here and try to determine what we're going to be seeing. I want to note more than anything else right off the bat here that this is not exactly the way this is going to play out, and what you're about to see here is not necessarily the final say. It's just our best guess as of right now. So this is the HRRR model, and I'm going to show you areas of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Texas first. So starting off, pretty much now, the time is above my head, you'll see a lot of storms begin to develop here. I have the Storm Prediction Center risk area here, but I mean, a lot of storms develop in this area, and I'm very concerned about some of these cells down, like look in this area here. 70 decibels, for example, is a large hail storm right there. But there's a lot of them, and you always want to watch out for these more isolated storms rolling through areas of, say, Oklahoma right here. These could be producing even larger hail because they're not having to interact with anything else. They're just doing their own thing. This is also going to be producing the risk for damaging winds as these line segments come together in this area. This is getting into the afternoon. This is an Eastern time, the time is that you're seeing, so it's the best I can do for now. Hopefully they add that feature to this website where I can change zones here. But just subtract an hour from this if you're in the plains. But these storms consolidate into more of a line and clusters of storms, and this frame right here is concerning. This is right about midnight or just before, and we have a lot going on in this area. I'm not nearly as concerned about this area down here as I am up to the north, but some of these storms could produce monster-sized hail. I mean, just huge hail. I would not be surprised if we got a 4 or even 5-inch hail report out of this area. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Do want to note, as I should, this is 4:50 or 5:50 p.m. Eastern time, and did both the storms? One of the storms in Illinois has just gone tornado warned. Do want to note that. I'm gonna go live here as soon as I can. But anyway, this is getting out past midnight here, and these storms do seem to lose some steam, but they could still be producing large hail and some gusty winds. So moving up to the central areas of this risk, and this is a little bit more of a fine scale here, so it's a little bit more zoomed in, and the time scale is a little bit more fine. So it goes in 15-minute intervals. This is starting off in the afternoon. I mean, this is 8 p.m., so 7 p.m. Central Time, and we really start to see more storms develop in Missouri, Kansas here, northern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas, and you'll just see a lot of them. These really, to me, more than anything else, initially will pose a tornado threat, then they will pose a large hail threat, and then as they progress, once you start to get these more bands of storms, these clusters of storms, we'll start to see more of a damaging wind threat start to evolve across this area. And I mean, this is getting out. This is early in the morning. This is, let's say right here, this is 3 a.m. this morning. Look at Arkansas, Illinois up here, northern Missouri, Arkansas. I said these states already. I'm making myself go crazy. But moving past it, I mean, there's a lot here. Now, moving up to the north, here's a broad look first, and then we'll take a more zoomed in look at the moderate risk area. Starting off 5:45 p.m. Eastern time, so that's right about now. But moving on, you'll see storms, isolated storms fire in that moderate risk area. More storms fire off to the back. Now, for example, these storms up here over Lake Michigan and areas of Wisconsin and Michigan itself, these are on the cold side of that boundary we just talked about. So these are likely only going to produce hail, maybe some sporadic damaging winds. But just to the south of this boundary, these storms are fair game to do pretty much anything. This is getting out there, and the sun's well gone down at this point. There's just clusters of storms, line segments. And look at just, I mean, it's just this frame right here, for example, 1:15 a.m. Central Time. Look at how many storms there are. I mean, this is just a nasty look. Nasty look. There's a ton of storms on the map. And I dare say they even increase as we're getting into tomorrow morning. Look at the coverage of these storms. I'm not nearly as concerned about this being, some sort of insanely widespread severe outbreak. This is likely just a lot of rain and some thunder, maybe small hail at this point. We do have a risk for Wednesday, but I'm not even going to break that down in this video. So now moving in here and getting a closer look. This is, as far as I know, this is the latest run we've got of the HRRR sub-hourly here, and this is just a look at the enhanced and moderate risk areas. And so you'll see isolated storms. This is 6 p.m., so 5 p.m. Central Time. So getting into right about the time you're going to be seeing this video just after, we get these storms forming just south of Joliet, north of Pontiac here. Not to get overly specific, it is important that you know where you are on a map. But this is, so far, pretty well matching what we're seeing with the actual observed radar, so that's a good thing. But these storms get going here. Now, for example, Chicago is an interesting spot because as of right now, you guys are on the cool side of this boundary. You guys are in the 40s and 50s right now, and that's not going to support a tornado threat that's overly strong. But just to your south, I mean, talking like 10, 15 miles, 20 miles to the south, once you cross that boundary, it's a big difference. Chicago could be a big area for hail. But I mean, look at the coverage of storms here. These definitely have my attention to do every hazard, all that, the hail, the damaging wind. Obviously, the tornado threat is maximized in this area. That's why we have a moderate risk. So keep that in mind. The sun's well gone down. It's getting out towards midnight right here, and just clusters of storms. Again, this is not exactly what's going to happen. This is just a best guess. But multiple rounds. It looks like 3 rounds or so of storms go across this area. Just insane stuff. This is getting into early tomorrow morning, and the coverage is insane with this. So moving out here, I do want to show you, this is our updraft helicity swaths through the event. And I don't want to get overly detailed on what this is, but areas of higher color here, these higher contrast colors, these yellows and greens, for example, are areas where these storms rotate more and or are more intense. So you can see a pretty well-defined area inside this enhanced risk in areas of Texas and Oklahoma here. And then, I mean, even in Kansas and Oklahoma, there's another little maximized area. Obviously, what we're really watching up here is for the rotation in these storms. This map is not overly impressive to me. Does that mean that we're downtrending this? I wouldn't say so, not yet. It's very possible that there are fail modes with this. I mean, there's storms that have formed right now. There are things that can keep these storms from being destructive, but I think that's inevitable. I hate to use that wording and that language. I just think that's the truth, to be completely honest with you. And it's just a matter of where the storms set up. These storms right now, I'm looking at the radar, are very, very isolated. Like there's 2 storms right now, and they are probably 30 or 40 miles apart. I mean, they're not close to each other. So they're going to be free to do their own thing, and that's just not what you want in a time frame like this. So this is what we got going on right here, and there's definitely higher values. And obviously, these will move around. They'll set up different places every run. So now we just have to look into nowcasting. Moving past this, this is really just, that's all I had for you. I mean, here's the outlook once again if you didn't see it earlier. But man, just a big day ahead. So consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. We're about to go live, like I've said. And so if anything else, I'll see you there. Thank you for watching.